Hello and welcome to this, our second show of Metaverse Live. Welcome everybody on the net and everybody around the sim. And I'm so excited about today. Two things really as a heads up. The first is that we have no Eddie this week and we don't have Anya, sadly. But that aside, we have a lovely little surprise for you. But first of all, I'm going to introduce you to our regulars. Firstly, we're going to go to Sigmund Leominster. Hi, Sigmund. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, and hello to everybody, and thanks for coming back for a second week with this new show.
And Mal Burns-Writer, how are you?
Hi, Deezer. As good as it comes, I think. Good to be back.
Jolly good. Now, next, I'm not quite sure how to introduce these two next fellas here at all, and... let's see. I think we might go to somebody who used to be Kayden O'Connell, but now is Tweedledee, I think. Is that right, Kayden?
Hi, yes. Well, I'm still Kayden O'Connell, but right now I'm Tweedledee from Alice's Through the Looking Glass.
Fabulous. And next to you, we have your twin brother, Corwyn Allen, who is Tweedledum, therefore, by deduction.
That's correct. I am Corwyn Allen. I am also Tweedledum in Alice Through the Looking Glass.
Now look at them, guys. Don't they look fantastic? Okay, so you... yeah, well, I'm expecting hijinks, I have to say. That's what I'm expecting today. So what I'm going to say... yeah, I reckon. We're going to talk about some subjects today, some things that have been in the news, some things that have been common around Second Life, for example, or other virtual worlds for a little while. And at the end, then we're going to come back to what Kayden and Corwyn referred to earlier, which is the fact that they're appearing in Through the Looking Glass for the Avatar Repertory Theatre. And we'll come to that at the... in the latter part of our show. But first of all, I am going to go to who have we got first? Yeah, we've got Mal Burns-Writer. And our first subject is that really popular subject of the Viewer 3 interface. Now, do I hear groans? Yeah, I heard one. Right.
Well, okay, well, I have a feeling that anybody who uses Second Life, which of course is where we're filming, probably knows that Lindum Labs have released yet another new viewer. It's sort of known as Viewer 3, and it's already up to Viewer 3.2, though I believe it installs as a Viewer 2. They haven't got around to changing the name of the installer yet. It's a major interface overhaul. They have got rid of the famous sidebar, which appeared to annoy a lot of people, though it didn't particularly annoy me. And they've introduced what you might call drag and drop functionality. In other words, the various menus that are available in Second Life, you can now get buttons that either show an icon or show text or show both. And you can manually drag them around to the bottom of the screen, the left of the screen, the right of the screen, wherever you want them really, except the top. And I must admit, the first thing I did is dragged and dropped them to the right-hand side of my screen, so they looked like I had a sidebar again. It doesn't work like a sidebar. When I click them, I get a floating menu instead of a slide-out menu. But to all intents and purposes, I've made it look like Viewer 2. The other really main feature is that the basic mode, which they've had running for a few months for new persons, I think is the most politically correct expression I can think of, has been incorporated into what's called advanced mode, which is the main mode most of us are used to. Now, basic mode used to include things like destination recommendations and avatar, default avatars. as a sort of sliding picture menu for you to choose from, and that is now in the main client as well. Possibly the most significant thing is that the basic mode allowed you to literally point and click at things and then walk to them. Much more intuitive than the sort of pressing your arrow buttons that we've gotten used to over time. Now, with this new combination, you can do both. You can either choose to point and click and walk, or you can use your arrow keys as before. And if you're a fan of arrow keys, you can actually switch the point and click business off, so that it doesn't get in your way. In other words, point and click can do other things like teleport you to the spot or make you fast move or whatever. So it's a very significant overhaul, but when you actually dig beneath the surface, in terms of usability, there isn't actually that much I find that is different. But Sigmund, have you yet had a chance to?
Well, I'm going to interrupt you there, Mal. Actually, because I'm going to interrupt you there because and refer you to your instructions for the day. I'm being very harsh on them, everybody, because actually I like to run this to time, and I know that my lot tend to chat. And what I want to know from Mal Burns-Writer, because I've asked for subject matters from everybody today. What I want to know from Mal Burns-Writer is, why do we want to talk about Viewer 3?
Why do we want to talk about it? Well,
because I had several requests to talk about Viewer 3. Why? What is the problem with it? Apart from the fact that you can click and run.
There have been usual problems with getting it all going. There have been numerous reports of teleport failures and things, which I suspect is the Linden Labs back end at work. It's controversial. It's like everything with Second Life. Second Life's full of change, but when there is a change, they seem to react rather badly to it. They suddenly become very conservative. So it's news. It's a matter of some debate whether people like it or don't like it. One of the most surprising things about it is that it works as an open sim viewer, which and it works very well as an open sim viewer, surprisingly. So there is a plus point there. You can't save open sim grids into it. You have to actually modify the shortcut the old-fashioned way and use them to access open sim. But it does work there. So a lot of the open sim people are very pleased with that as well.
Right, I'm opening this to the panel. Come on now. Who did I hear come up there?
This kid. You can open with this new viewer. You could access open sim through that.
You can indeed, yes. You have to modify the shortcut on your desktop for to the OpenSim grid you want to go to, but it does function as a perfectly good OpenSim viewer, including media on the prim and everything else. So it came as a surprise to some people.
Yeah.
Now, I'm getting a lot of comments, actually, in my IMs here about the back end is a nice way of saying Linden's back end and, all sorts of things. So there's a fair amount of jibing going on, and quite a lot of it is coming from Sigmund Leominster. So what's that about, Sigmund?
Well, I think I said this before, or maybe it's just a feature of getting old, but the problem I find at the moment with the viewer in general is not so much that I can't handle it. And in fact, I did what Mal did. I just made it look like Viewer 2 because I find change very difficult these days. But the thing that really gets me irritated is the fact that they keep changing it. Those of us who have smartphones and iPads, we are now living in a world whereby your app changes to the latest version every week. And if it doesn't happen in 2 weeks, you complain. And we seem to be doing that with the Linden viewer. At one time, you had the viewer and you probably had it for a good few months while something happened. And then people would whine about getting it fixed and a bug would be fixed. But now, every week when I boot up my Second Life to do this show, it reinstalls with a new version. And that's the bit that really gets me irritated and pissed off. I really just want it to stay still for a little while so I can get used to it. And then what happens, you get used to it and they shift all the buttons. So please, guys, just slow it down a little. Have a little, a little sympathy for we older guys, I think.
Well, I don't know whether to feel good or bad about that, Sigmund, because actually I've gone through my preferences and said that I want a manual download. So therefore, I'm still in the old version of Viewer 3, I think it's fair to say.
I think, you know what, I should do that. I should do that myself. But, you know, part of what I'm trying to do here is just to try and gauge the rate of change of the viewers by leaving it and seeing, you know, letting things happen as they do automatically. And I'm sure I'm not the only one to have noticed that the rate of change of the viewer software seems to be now almost on a weekly or a 2-weekly basis. And that's just a new, I shouldn't say new, but, you know, over the past couple of years, maybe that notion that every piece of software you get is in beta and always will be seems to have taken hold in a number of softwares.
What's a particular problem for what we're doing too is that we're doing a live performance. We're bringing in a lot of people. We have to kind of program to the lowest common denominator. We have to imagine that the person with the first viewer can still watch what we're doing, and so we have to be very careful with that. You know, we can't use mesh because people don't have that yet. A lot of our people.
Well, we're getting lots of comments from the audience here, including one that says it looks like Facebook and Linden Labs are having a contest on who can pee off their customers the most.
Well, I was just thinking that, and you can include Google in that. I mean, they pissed off everybody who uses Google Reader a couple of weeks ago. They've revamped Gmail. Facebook had to do the same trick weekly. I mean, I think Linden Labs are just trying to copy Google and Facebook. But and I must say, I still, despite what I just told you, I use an independent viewer called Firestorm. Simply because at the moment it is still the best for me, although its performance seems to degrade the more the Linden Lab viewer changes. So, you know, it's win and lose, really.
Oh, right. Okay. So, all right. Something else that seems to be peeing people off is Zynga. The Zynga CEO has asked his employees, this is what I heard, the Zynga CEO has asked his employees to give their stock back.
Yeah, that sounds sort of like what he's asking here, but, you know, I took another little look here, and I could be wrong on this, but according to Fortune, who did a look at this, it's not necessarily that they're taking back the stock options that they actually have or are vested in. It looks like they were trying to take back some that were non-vested. And what that means is that, you know, when you have a corporation where you share in the ownership, when the company starts handing out ownership, you don't get ownership straight away. It takes you a few years, and you build up over a number of years a vested interest in the company. And then after X number of years, you own, say, 100% of shares within the company. And what it looked a little like was that they were okay with people who'd already got like 50 to 75%, but they were haggling over that 25 that people haven't got. So that's a little different from just taking the stuff away from you. But you know, speaking as a person who is a vested owner of a company and has gone through this process, I would be incredibly annoyed if people were trying to negotiate for me to have less of a vestment. So you know, you can't argue against that. Whatever it is, people are always going to get irritated when you try to take money off them.
Very definitely, I would say. I think surely doesn't that change their job description?
Oh, well, again, the other thing that I was reading in the report was that it does, but one of the speculations was that, you know, prior to any company going public, which is what people are thinking is the next move, of course, you have to revamp your personnel, and if you have dead weight around, that's rather a nasty thing to say, but if you do, you want to try and get rid of them. And one way to get rid of them is to either move them into another part of the company or to sack them. And again, one of the suggestions is what we might be seeing here is the repositioning of resources. What that means is you're shuffling people around. So there may be more to it than just taking money off people. What we might be seeing is the first steps towards a rejigging the management structure.
Okay. Do you have a management structure in the Avatar Repertory Theatre, guys?
Yes, we do.
Yes.
Oh, we'll get more of that.
Do you have lots of investors?
No, but we'd like...
You'd like them.
We'd like them. Well, let's see what we could do, because we're going to move on a bit here. I'm going to come to Sigmund, because we're going to start talking about just such a thing. We're going to be talking about, our next subject on is using virtual worlds for rousing, for politics, political support, or charitable fundraising, or publicity for various charitable events. And originally we were going to have Anya Ebor coming in to talk about Fearless Nation, because she's done the most fantastic kind of event over the last 2 weeks. Take it away, Sigmund.
Yeah, and this is a little bit of an extension on what we were talking about last week. I think we focused very much on the notion of commerce within Second Life. We talked about how people make money and how people market. But this is very business orientated. But as we're fairly aware, Second Life does a lot more than that. And of course, we did mention last week sex, but we're leaving that for another program. But this week, we thought we'd take a look at some of the other interesting things that people do. And certainly, the notion of fundraising is a big one in Second Life. For those of us who track this sort of thing, then there are always fundraising things going on. And it is sometimes amazing, indeed staggering, to know how much money can be raised by Second Life fundraising. Just last year alone, I think in April, there was a fundraising event by the Amaretto Breedables, who do the in-world horses, and they did some fundraising. They had some special limited edition horses, and as a result of their entire campaign there, they got $82,000 US. That's 82,000 US, and that's a chunk of change for any charitable institution. But if we then look at Second Life Relay for Life, which again is another big event, their final notion was $375,000. That's $350,000. So, whatever people say about Second Life and Second Life is dead, blah, 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 there are a lot of people out there who are receiving money from these charities who don't believe that. At the same time, we, as well as the fundraising, we do have the political activities. I remember just maybe a couple of years ago, I was with my stint on the what was the Second Life Herald, and I'll say that. But I did a report there where we were looking at trade union activity within Second Life, and trade unions were having meetings, organizing conferences, and even as we speak, I suspect there are some Occupy Second Life events going on, and there is a group called Occupy Second Life, and their aim is to follow the Occupy Wall Street movement that takes place in the US and around the world, and they're actually active on Facebook and within Second Life itself, to the point that actually just it was a week ago, a couple of weeks ago, I'm not sure, it was fairly recent anyway, within days, they actually occupied the Second Life's Capital Exchange, which was very entertaining because CapEx, as it is called, isn't actually a real stock exchange. It's a pretend stock exchange. So they had a protest against a pretend stock exchange, which there's a certain irony there about it, I'm not sure. So clearly there's a lot of stuff going on in Second Life that's both political and also charitable as well. So I just focused on those two things there, but I believe, Dusa, there's also been a number of events around women's issues. I can't remember what it was, but you may know better than me.
I don't know anything about women.
Yeah, there we go.
Me neither. Gee.
Oh dear.
Well, yes. I mean, I think personally, I think that Second Life is fantastic for women because it gives them much more opportunity to. I mean, the fight is less aggressive in here. We generally fight each other in here as opposed to men for space. And if there is no space, then we can just move to another sim and make some flaming space and just start our business with, and keep a low profile until we are willing for it to go mega. And then usually there's a backlash, but then for every action there is a reaction. I mean, one of the things that part of the things I will sort of plead Anya's case in this was the Fearless Nation. She had started this non-profit for post-traumatic stress disorder. I don't know whether you know anything about that, but basically people, it's a kind of shell shock, I suppose. That's the swiftest way to explain it. It's a kind of shell shock, but all sorts of people are prone to this. People who've been subjected to violence, or have been in war zones, or have been, for example, children who have seen their parents murdered, and people who've been very open to some kind of violence and shocking act very often suffer with post-traumatic stress disorder. It's rather worrying, I think, that we are bringing up children in war zones all over the world, and therefore effectively this is it's perpetuating and accumulating. So anyway, Anya has started up Fearless Nation in Second Life in order to bring some attention to this, and also for support groups as well. Yeah. So, I mean, post-traumatic stress is a very specific kind of disorder. So it's very specific, and you need to look up the symptoms of that, because it can be confused with other things. So they have support groups, and I know there are many people in here who have kind of support groups. There's AA in here. There are support groups for the parents of autistic children. All sorts of things I think you could probably draw out of your hat, and I think our audience could probably draw out of their hats as well. I mean, do you think, I mean, I suppose in a way I kind of agree with it. I think this is a perfect place for that, but no kind of emphasis is put on that area. People don't seem to, outside of virtual worlds or even inside, don't seem to recognise its value. Is that, what do you think, Kayden and Corwyn? Let me bring you in.
Well, the experience I've had with discussing Second Life with people outside of it is that they see it as a game primarily yet, and say, well, when you're done playing around in there, come back and do theater with us in the real world. And I try to explain to them what we're doing here. And that's I think it takes a certain amount of creativity and imagination to do well here, and there's a little bit of a steep learning curve in just getting started. I know, Melbourne, you mentioned Viewer 3 and how we're trying to make it more usable for people coming in, but I've heard figures on almost like 80% of the people who try it say, oh, I can't figure this out, this is too much work, I'm going to go play World of Warcraft or something.
What do you think, Corwyn?
I think the Lindens need to make it easier for the users to get around here rather than making it more difficult. I think they've spent way too much time on trying to improve a technology that wasn't broken to begin with. Yes. I'm still using the standard Phoenix viewer, not even using Firestorm, and I like it quite a lot. It makes meshes look a little odd, particularly, but that's... Yeah. I'm sure upgrades for that will come in time. But it's as Kayden says, Second Life to a lot of us is not a game, in particular for us as actors. We are pushing the envelope, if you will, in cross-discipline performance art. And what we're doing and what some of our other folks are doing, one of our actors, Joff Fosnacht, who is a lecturer at Coventry University in the UK, has been doing quite a lot with doing cross-discipline acting by bringing real live actors in real life and Second Life avatars together in virtually the same space, and doing experiments with that, working up to doing full-fledged theatrical things. And that's kind of what we do as a theater troupe, the Avatar Repertory Theater.
Okay, let's move on to that. I mean, so just to pick you up on that, what is the main difference? I mean, is this something that you do specifically in Second Life, or do you extend it to real life? I mean, perhaps I shouldn't, that's encroaching on your anonymity, really. But when you're talking about the real life actors, is it something that, do they find the crossover difficult?
I don't think actors in particular find the crossover difficult, because you have to understand that actors are crossing over all the time. Once we step out on stage, and I used to be a professional actor in real life for a number of years, and I changed careers, and now I'm getting back into it again as a career. But when I come out of the green room in costume and makeup onto a real stage, I have crossed over into another universe, into another persona, into another life and another reality. Whether I'm doing Chekhov or whether I'm doing Shakespeare or Tom Stoppard or what have you. So this is really an extension of that. And we are using the technology that Second Life provides us to immerse our audiences into our production. You saw a bit of that when you attended Alice in Wonderland. Falling down the rabbit hole with Alice was everybody's favorite script. Getting the audience up out of their seats and dropping down the rabbit hole with her. And you'll find similar things in Through the Looking Glass. We bring you into our world. And,
there are things that we can do, of course, in Second Life that we dream about doing in the real world, about bringing a set up and building these enormously beautiful sets. Of course, here then we have to deal with the limitations of this world as well. We like to think of it as kind of like puppetry almost. We're moving these little characters around on the screen, but we're still acting and it's still live, and that's the excitement of it for us, is that we're actually performing live.
Okay, so let's talk about the puppetry kind of element of it. I mean, is it really kind of valid then to say that you're actors as opposed to puppeteers?
Oh yes, because we use our voice. It's a lot like radio acting. You're using your voice to project your character out. Plus, you're providing these beautiful images, and it's all kind of clumsy yet, and the voice and the animations of the face aren't real good, but that will all change. It's only going to get better.
You're hearing both of us speak right now in our normal voices. But when we drop into character and I become Tweedledum and he becomes Tweedledee,
don't start with me.
Don't you start with me now. Come on.
Mom always liked you best anyway.
Ditto. No how. So you see, there is a certain amount of acting that actually goes along with that, and a great deal of it. And there's a whole lot of puppeteering that has to go on because, all right, I'm sitting here, for example, I have two computers running. I have three monitors up in front of me. One computer is a laptop with a self-contained monitor. I have another monitor attached to that on which I'm looking at Second Life right now. I have a third monitor to my right and a desktop computer, and I'm sometimes filling in as the sound engineer with that second computer, bringing in sound effects and music cues and so forth into the scripts. I'll have my script on a book platform in front of me. I've got a microphone on a stand and all of these hooked to an audio mixer in front of me, and then I have to move my avatar around, so I've got the keyboard and the mouse and all of this stuff, two mice actually, because I've got to have the mouse for my sound effects on the other computer. So there's a lot of dexterity that's going on here. Even though I'm sitting in a chair, I'm really getting my exercise.
So that sounds like an awful lot of economic investment.
It really is an investment for any of us who really want to perform. And you can talk to any of the musical performers in Second Life. Russell Eppenham or Brendan Shoreland. These people have gone to a great deal of time and effort to improve the sound quality coming out of their homes in order to give you a really nice sounding musical and vocal performance. And they were just the start of what we are doing now as actors. And we're, as I said, pushing the envelope. We're expanding the technology on our ends to utilize the technology in Second Life to bring you a fully immersive production that you can walk away from and go, wow, what did I just sit through? That was cool.
Okay, Sigmund, do you want to come in here? Because I know you're a bit of a wannabe, aren't you?
Absolutely. I should tell everybody that in real life I am not an actor. I'm not even a radio presenter. I'm just me. But what I did find fascinating was a comment you made there about the relationship between using Second Life as an acting medium and puppetry. And the reason I say that is because we just also talked about using Second Life for support purposes. And I was, oddly enough, earlier this week doing some research for a short paper I'm writing, which is on the psychological or psychotherapeutic use of puppets in therapy.
As you do.
And it is curious that we talk about that, because there are folks within Second Life who are using Second Life as a therapy medium for resolving psychological problems. And I did find it fascinating the way that you relate this notion of acting and puppetry, because I think that what they have in common there is that they allow you to disassociate yourself and become somebody else. And for people who have psychological issues, having their avatar allows them to disassociate a little from themselves and become somebody else, if only temporarily. And that is something you can do within Second Life, and you can do within the virtual world. You can't always do in real life.
Yes, yeah. That's
well,
a good
there
point.
is what the devil's it called? Psychodrama, isn't there?
Mm-hmm.
There is an element of
what's
the
the
art
drama?
called psychodrama, where you you use a dramatic form in order to work out your family dynamics or the dynamics that may be troubling you.
Mm-hmm.
Mal, have you ever wished to tread the stage?
Yeah, I suppose maybe. I kind of was a bit involved with theatre many years ago as a designer and producer, but yeah, I mean, people often thought I was an actor when I was younger. They probably do now, because I'm a bit flamboyant or whatever, I don't know. But it's
I don't think actors can actually afford to be flamboyant in the main.
No, I
certainly
mean,
not in the UK.
when I say flamboyant, I mean gesturally. Sort of. I use my my arms and hands a lot, and I animate my real world body in a far more to a greater extent than I think the average punter does. Put it that way. But we've gone through a whole load of stuff here actually, but. It really is. Second Life is really just like a new stage. You didn't even mention what we're doing now, which is we are producing television here. We've got the set built. We got the set bills. This is the new stage for a television program. For the casual viewer, they're probably thinking, "What are those strange cartoon people talking about serious stuff for?" But slowly but surely, we have a new stage here. As well as theatre, we have some wonderful efforts at dance in Second Life with motion capture animation to capture really complex dances and defying the laws of physics, which, of course, on a real-world stage, dancers really have to stick to gravity. But, you're actually able to do things in this environment that just wouldn't be possible elsewhere. And in a similar fashion, I didn't get to say anything when we were talking about Fearless Nation, for example, but to me, putting the charity aspect of those things aside, the real plus point is they are also a stage in a way, because what Fearless Nation and a lot of groups offer in Second Life is a community. They provide the stage for that community of people to interact in ways that they could not possibly do in the real world. It might be a matter of disability, or it might even just be a simple matter of distance. And what Sigmund was talking about the Occupy movement, for example, if you live in the Midwest of America, you can't occupy Wall Street. It's rather a long way to go every morning. Somebody in Oxford is going to have, even somebody in Oxford in the UK is going to have a bit of a problem getting to the stock exchange to occupy it every morning. So, you can make your presence felt by becoming part of a community and making a statement. And I think, if you can have a camp virtually that is protesting about this, then it is a valid way of saying, well, I can't be at the other possibilities, but I can do it virtually. So it's not just in performance terms, but to a greater extent, virtual worlds, immersive spaces are our new stage, and they can be equally compelling as the real life one.
Well said, Milburns. Yeah. And especially for what we're doing too. The ability for us to connect with each other from all around the world. We have Joff from England, Rowan from Australia. We're all spread across the United States. I'm in the middle of Minnesota, up here in the woods. This gives me a chance to do something that I probably wouldn't be able to do otherwise. So it's amazing.
And with an incredibly talented crew of people, too. I'd have never met any of these people in real life and gotten a chance to work with them all. And it's been very fulfilling for me as an artist, as an actor, to work with
Sorry, Corwyn. Go on.
I'm sorry. Go right ahead, please.
No, well, I was just going to say what you're saying is, I mean, there are two types of actor mixing here. One is the professional actor, and perhaps the trained actor, and what have you, and the other is the untrained and unprofessional. And I don't mean that in a way that intimates that they can't do it. I saw. I think the guy you're talking about, was he the one that from Coventry who directed the Howard Barker?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
There was a Howard Barker play put on in Second Life here as part of the Howard Barker celebrations retrospective in real life. Now, I know that Howard Barker must have been thrilled to bits to think that was happening, and I'm surprised, I don't know whether he came in to see it, but I would have thought he would have been very interested in doing so. As he's a person who's involved with new forms, effectively.
No, I don't think he ever saw it. We did have to work quite closely with his people, to get the rights to be able to do it. And of that 13 Objects celebration all around the world, we were the virtual world theater that was participating in that. And again, that was an extraordinary experience.
Well, I just think that was a very interesting thing for me to see, because I saw the director being interviewed and he looked completely bewildered afterwards. I couldn't tell whether he was in some kind of, oh my God, what have I just done? Or whether he was actually overtaken by the idea that it would work, because it did work and it worked very, very well. And yet I know that, I don't think that they were all professional actors in that production.
No, we have a wide variety of community theater, professional people, retired people.
How does that mix then in rehearsal? I mean, do you have any sort of confrontation or anything like that?
Well, I think anytime you put two people together in the same room, you've had the risk of confrontation. Never mind.
Especially a bunch of artists.
Hardwired.
Yeah, but art is confrontation to some degree, but. I mean, were the confrontations about different kind of practice, or?
Oh no, just disagreements about how to do something or interpretations of something. But always, we always get over it, and always.
Oddly enough, I don't think that our disagreements come from artistic interpretation quite as much as actors as the disagreements that come up between the builders and the scripters about how a certain object is supposed to work, or how a certain costume is supposed to look, or there's a lot more, I think, intensity that I've seen at any rate in what our builders actually do, and our builders are also our actors. Ada Radius and Rowan Shamroy have done a phenomenal job with avatars and the costumes and the sets, and they're not the only two people working on it, but those two have pulled off the lion's share of the work. These avatars you're looking at here were designed and built by them, and this is just a small sample of what you're going to see in the show.
Well, they're absolutely stunning, those avatars, and I know that I have seen some of the excerpts from the show, that you've got a YouTube link out. It all looks absolutely phenomenal. I mean, did you get any kind of outside professional reaction, for example, to Alice in Wonderland?
I honestly don't recall.
We've been awful close to it yet, just rehearsing and getting it put together.
I don't know anybody outside of Second Life that actually came in specifically to see it. I know I did promote it to a few of my actor friends who are actors in real life and who have not yet experienced Second Life, or who have only experienced.
I think Alice in Wonderland was last year, wasn't it? Did you get that? Was that filmed at all? So you could actually gauge reaction by putting it on the web or whatever.
No, we haven't been able to make a machinima of that yet.
That's a shame, because we offered.
Yeah.
Yes. Lots of issues with ownership of the avatars and design.
We underwent a significant change in how the company, the theater company itself, our Avatar repertory is structured after Alice in Wonderland was over, so that we will have a great deal more freedom as we make the machinima for Looking Glass, which we do plan to do. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
I do want to. I'm sorry. I do want to digress just briefly for a moment here, because I've been throwing out credit where credit is due to our other actors and our other builders, and I just want to state right now that I do not play Tweedledum as the main character in the play. I am a crash reader for this character.
Love it. Love that expression.
Nice segue, right? The actual actor who plays Tweedledum in the show is Sam Brodigan. He is our youngest actor. He's also a student. He's just gone back to college studying theater, and which is why he's not here tonight, because he's in class at the moment. But I just want to point out that he does normally play Tweedledum, and I crash read for that. Now, the concept of crash reader means we're all on computers, and just like Sigmund's typed into us a moment ago that he might crash because of the thunderstorms in his local area right now, we run that risk. When our actors are scattered around the world, you never know what's going to happen in one place or another. And if you crash during a performance, somebody's got to be there to back you up. Otherwise, it's Katie bar the door, and the show just goes out the window. So each of us is responsible for crash reading other characters throughout the play. My main character is the White Knight. I portray that character twice in the show, and then I portray this character if Sam crashes. I portray a couple of other characters if those actors crash. And so we all back each other up. And that's one of the other logistical nightmares, if you will, apart from being an actor and a puppeteer at the same time. I also have to be responsible for somebody else's role.
It's a terrible thing. It's a terrible thing.
It's just like having an understudy, really, isn't it?
Absolutely. But an instant on-call understudy. It's rarely do you see in live theater where an actor just falls through the floor and the understudy comes out.
Yes, I'd love to see it.
Stories
and
that
happened in our last performance, where our dear Pip, who plays Alice, just crashed. It wasn't her fault, and our director MT was able to step in and take over.
So Sigmund, have you crashed yet? Do we have to talk for you?
No, I think the storm is moving on here, and but I must say that was a new word to me, a crash reader. I like that. That's great. I'm going to write that one down, and I think I'll blog about that one. It's a great phrase.
It's very special to me in particular as a member of our
yes.
When I first
Corwyn,
came into the theater company,
that's the joke with Corwyn.
they were already in the middle of rehearsing Alice in Wonderland, so I was not cast in Alice in Wonderland, but as an actor, they said, okay, you're not doing anything, you get to crash read pretty much everybody. So I would spend every performance in the green room going from one avatar to the next in case someone crashed throughout the entire show. And it was just a lot of fun. And sometimes I had to.
My God. So come on, you better tell the audience where and when and how much.
Absolutely. We've got 6 performances left. The next show is the 11 p.m. on Friday, 11 p.m. SLT. And then Sunday at 1 p.m. Corwyn, do you have the link for that? I'm one of those that's never been finding things.
It's on Cookie, isn't it?
It's on Cookie, yes.
Cookie.
Outside the new theater is a landmark where you could go right to Marketplace and get the tickets, which are 500 Linden. What a deal for an hour and a half show.
It's not just an hour and a half. I mean, you've heard what has gone into the making of this show. I mean, how long would you say, from inception or conception to, would you say?
At least a year. Ada Radius did the adaptation from the original Lewis Carroll work, and then started planning the avatars and the scenery, and we brought in people who built. We've been rehearsing, about a couple of months, Corwyn. Saturday and Sundays usually for 3 or 4 hours. It's been a lot of time involved. We've got some wonderful people doing music as well, and Thundergas, who is our great sound engineer, is putting the music files together along with Ada.
Yep. And that's the other thing that we do. Each of us brings not only our acting talents, but many of us are musicians. Kayden plays piano. I play piano, guitar, lute, drums. Mm-hmm. We've got a bassoon player in the company. Many of us sing. Ada found Victorian musical scores to all of the well-known nursery rhymes. And Kayden put together MIDI files of that music and passed them out to everyone, and we've all contributed our voices and our instrumental expertise to the soundtrack. So the soundtrack you're going to hear is pretty much all of us.
Wow.
So I've posted the link for Marketplace, by the way, in the local chat where you can get the tickets. And each ticket is specific for a specific night. So choose the night that you want and buy that ticket. It's 500 lindens. Excuse me. Let me just put up here.
I'll just read this out. That's marketplace.secondlifestop.com/stores/97772.
Thank you.
On the edits there. So if you head for Marketplace and put in Through the Looking Glass,
you should find it just fine that way as well. Yeah, there's the performance dates. Thank you, Corwyn.
Yep.
Right, that's Saturday, November the 12th, up to the 13th, variously 3 o'clock, 1 o'clock. And then Friday, November the 18th to the 20th, and then some in December. So do have a look. And if you need to, I've got all the information anyway.
And if you want a little sample of what we're doing, there's our Machinima teaser trailer that we put together. Another person in our company, Evie Fairchild, that's her last name.
Yeah.
She's a Machinima artist, and she made this Machinima. And several of us provided our bodies and voices to produce this, and that's our little teaser trailer. So go out and watch that and get excited.
Yeah. So you'll find that on YouTube. And
yes.
If you put Through the Looking Glass on there, you'll find them. And it's got Avatar Repertory Theatre. I saw that.
That's us.
So
that's it.
That's what you'll find it under. So, now what do you do in this show as Tweedledum and Tweedledee?
Well, I carry the whole show. I mean, he does.
Oh, don't listen to him. I'm older than he is, so I'm really more responsible
about 2 seconds,
for this.
maybe. Jeez. No,
we argue about a rattle. His stupid rattle that
if
he
you
lost.
hadn't broke the rattle, we wouldn't have had the argument now, would we?
Oh. Do we have to get into this now? Can we?
You brought it up. Like that stupid chicken.
Well, Mom did like me best. You know that.
Well, I know she did. She always liked you best. I only got the stupid chicken.
I'm going to ask, which one of you is the elder?
Oh, I am. Can't you tell?
But I'm wiser.
I'm much more mature than he is.
But I'm wiser. He's older.
Yeah, right.
Around.
I think we should have a fight over this.
I think you should. Right, please take the floor.
I'm going to get my you don't just watch it because I'm going to get dressed here and you.
Yeah.
Well, you just wait. There's something to be said about this, and I'll just watch out here. See this now? There you go. Okay.
All right, I'm ready for you now. Ready for you now.
No, watch this.
What are you gonna do now? Do I have to duck? Careful. Don't hit Sigmund. Sigmund will get mad. We don't want to make Sigmund mad.
Sigmund's gone very quiet. I'm a bit worried about it.
I'm going to take this off so that I can...
I'm just standing back so I don't get hit by something heavy.
My thoughts exactly.
Okay. This is what it comes down to usually, is that I have to work out, take him out with this. There you go.
Yeah.
I'll show you. Whoops.
It's not working.
Oh.
You broke it.
Oh, poor guys.
Oh, you broke my slap.
It's one of the wonders of SL is you just never know what's going to happen.
You never know what's going to happen. My animation.
Stand there and take it.
By the way, with the costume changes and stuff you saw going on, that's a little bit more of the puppetry. We've got all these folders with either costumes we have to replace the folder for, and then additional pieces that we have to wear, like all the armor that we just put on there. So,
and then of course, at the end, we usually end up passing out.
Oh, are you gonna? Oh, you fell through the floor too. Ah.
Oh, gee whiz! Oh!
Oh no! Oh! Oh! There he is! Oh boy!
I was going to say, I know we get nervous. We have tons of sweat. We're all completely antisocial by the time we finish a show. Do you find the same thing?
The interesting thing about the acting that we do, and actors understand this, when you're in the zone on stage, when you're really interacting with someone, you have this wonderful feeling of being able to reach out to the actor you're working with, and we feel that here as well. And I know we've talked about that, how you kind of get in the zone here too with the actors you're working with on this virtual stage. It's pretty cool.
Yep.
Do you think, one last question, do you think that actors get immersed more in Second Life than any other profession, perhaps?
Oh, I think so. I think because of the creativity involved with it and the imagination that's necessary to really enjoy this.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, we've got a couple of minutes left, guys. I'm going to go round and I would like just a couple of sentences from all of you as to sum up what your feeling is about what we've discussed today. I'm going to start with Sigmund.
Actually, I was going to say that the one thing that I miss from Second Life that you can't do, which is great in real life, is go out for a beer afterwards. I have this wonderful feeling that with our two guests here, that sitting in a pub with them would be 10 times more entertaining. And if we could ever arrange to all get together for a beer, I'd love to do that. Thanks, guys.
I'd be delighted.
Oh.
That would be fun. Yes, I would.
Mm-mm.
Okay, and we'll go to Mal next. I'm giving our two guests some time to think.
Oh, I'm waiting for Linden Labs to come up with an employee who calls himself Tweedle. They have a third, add a third one to the crew. I was just thinking when I saw you doing all that. No, I actually think it is especially great talking to you because it's clear that there are a lot of things that, quite frankly, people would try to do in Second Life, and they don't realise just how much work's involved, and they don't have their crash readers and stuff like that. And I'm just impressed by the amount of serious work you've done to sort of account for all the eventualities, and you clearly understand the platform and the things you need to do to actually deliver a professional job on it. So well done. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, go to Corwyn next.
Well, I know for me, as I say, I have gone through several not several, but a couple of career changes. I started out as an actor in college and then changed careers into information technology. I was a high-tech engineer for the last mumble years now, and it's ironic that my professional life is coming round full circle back into acting. I'm taking up a career as a voice actor in real life and a voiceover artist, and it's pretty much due to the work that I've done in Second Life with the Avatar Repertory Theater and the acting community and the reading and writing communities that I've become close to. Yeah, you talk about communities, and it's not just the political communities and that sort of thing, but there are all sorts of communities out there for the readers and the writers and artists and handicapped people, people who couldn't do the things in real life that they can do here in Second Life. And it's just wonderful what a community builder it is.
Wonderful.
Thank you, Corwyn. And last word to Kayden. Well, I get the last word, but I'm going to bring Kayden.
Of course. Well, I just want to echo what Corwyn said. Yeah, this is a community, and we've really made some relationships. I think we know each other not just from our Second Life avatar names, but we've come to know each other as real people as well, and have talked to each other in real life. And some have met in some other settings. So this is more than just a game for us.
Well, I think actually Kayden summed it up very well there. I think everybody did. And I hope you've enjoyed the programme today, everybody out on the net, and people who are in World, and our gentle visitor who decided to dance across the screen in the middle of the show. And
Second Life.
Yeah, was absolutely enjoying himself. And he's lucky that our actors were virtual, because I do know this, that if they'd done that on a stage with real actors, they'd have got punched. So, so I shall draw that to a close. And thank you, everybody, for joining us. And
thank you.
Come back next week.
Thank you, Dusa.
Thank you for having us, Dusa. Gentlemen.
Did I have you? Remember that.